Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reacts, where today we have ourselves a track from an ex named Niklas Adam NKA titled Doors Half Open featuring Simpson. If we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen on YouTube, the original lyric video here. We're going to listen through it from start till finish and we're going to hear what we think. Let's do it, let's go. What have we got?
I didn't leave because I didn't care. I live when your eyes soar too much.
Very subtle build with the instrumental there.
Your love was warm, it filled the air, and suddenly breathing felt tough.
Beautiful vocals and overdubs.
Keeps calling your name. I loved you with my doors half open, the keys still held in my hand. I wanted closeness without the weight of truly where we stand. You spoke of futures drawn in light. I heard the pressure, not you. Old ghosts were teaching my heart to run before our love had time to grow. I loved you with my doors half open, the keys still held in my hand. I wanted closeness without the weight of truly where we stand. Now nights are white, nobody stays. I thought relief would feel like flight. If love means staying when it's all real, I'm still learning not to hurt.
And that's it, it's just gone. Music and lyrics by Niklas Adam, lead vocals Simpson, background vocals Lilia Kyril, as well as video by Niklas Adam. Well done. Really effective audio-visual experience. We're going to talk about this track more in the conclusion. And so welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an ex named Niklas Adam NKA titled Doors Half Open featuring Simpson. In this section, we're going to be providing an overall song analysis as well as any applicable constructive critique, and then finally, my general thoughts from a listener's perspective. But first of all, what do we think this track is about? I think this track is about someone who wasn't necessarily really fully ready to commit to the person that they were with there. They had the door half open in terms of, I can still lock this behind me if I want to, but I'm going to let you in a little bit just to see if this will work. There are a lot of reservations that I mentioned at play here. I think there'll be an audience who can relate to this, either be people that can sort of like go, oh yeah, no, I remember, feeling unsure of this person. I wish that I had put more trust or faith in them, especially after people get hurt in the past. They typically tend to be a lot more careful. So I think that's kind of what this is attempting to resemble. And I feel that that's quite an interesting story. The way it's sung is fantastic. We've got a very kind of breathy performance there with effervescent reverbs and delay tails. The overdubs and backing vocals are hypnotic, they're mesmerizing, so they're so beautiful in the shimmer and sheen. We just have these really effective melodies that are sung there in various sections and structures through the piece that I think tell the story neatly in a way that does seem authentic. It's a very sleepy sounding kind of track, and I think that works for these kind of nighttime conversations when we're sort of ruminating and going over stuff in our own head. We hit the notes cleanly, we are very comfortable on a head and chest voice across the board. If there's call and responses, they work and are appropriate, but mainly we work well as a main focal point and are just a lovely, colourful element within the overall ether of the track. that doesn't try to overcomplicate or outdo itself or make it about itself too much. You know, like it's a lot of this track, especially, you know, being like a kind of a house track, is all about the groove, the chord note pulse to the drums. And so I think just again, having a really effective vocal performance is key. And I just feel as if we connected well. Structurally very effective at 2 minutes 49. This track is right within that 2 to 4 minute sweet spot, where if it's less than 2 minutes, you might be missing some important context in order to be able to fully understand the meaning of the track. It might not have been developed enough. And then if it's over 4 minutes, you really do kind of need to add more sort of diversity and variety to the composition in order to keep people interested. You need to develop or have another chapter or a twist and turn and tail. You have this a lot of these kind of fizzy kind of like no atmos kind of pads there that allow almost kind of work like a rise or like a kind of an instance of a new section there. You're kind of brought into the dreamscape of this world through that. I think that in audiovisual, you know, stereo field is very effective. It fills it up with that white noise, and you have that kind of subtle kind of synth line in the low end there, that those basses that are kind of filtered to be a bit more so low-key over top of the vocal runs on top. Like it's very colorful from the get-go within the first few seconds with these kind of synth sequences going around. It's such a stereo feel, great automation and panning there of the piece there. It's very deliberate, the production's on point. Once those kicks come in and they're neatly side-chained there, it's a very kind of typical way of approaching a verse section there. We're allowing the vocals to maintain precedence whilst also again establishing the kind of music that we're working with here, the tempo, the speed of it, and the pulse for the remainder of the track. And we play around with the resonances and the filter frequencies of it. We don't allow it to just be kind of stagnant in one sort of like tone or texture there. We allow things to open up a little bit and allow the track to kind of grow from an intensity perspective. When the snares and the hi-hats come in, it's just a natural kind of development of the kit there, working with those eighths there. It's very kind of pensive. It's not a super overwhelming track, and it's not aggressive or anything like that. Again, it's a very kind of sleepy, soothing piece there, but it does have a bit of oomph behind it as it goes along. And a lot of these kind of vocal takes have this kind of paddish effect along the side as we have some of those more kind of noise shimmers there. We have this kind of set bass line or chord progression that emanates throughout a lot of the piece there, but we don't allow the drums to be there the entire time. Some things float. I just feel it's very effective, that kind of push and pull. And as we go into that chorus section, the doon, 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 we have a kind of melody that's in a similar range to the vocals there, but it's a lot shorter there to contrast with the reverb and sort of extended tails and the gating and compression of the vocals there. I feel like that's just a nice juxtaposition there with the approach of those different lead and sub-lead elements. And there's that kind of typical kind of singing a melody as opposed to more sort of context after the chorus there, which I think allows you to appreciate the color within the overall harmonies of the track there before we go back down to another verse. And it's kind of like an AB kind of thing that just works well. It's just a fantastic sort of like loop. I'm just having a listen through like the lyric sections, you know, the vocals, and I'm okay with most of the cadences and the ways of phrasing some of the lines. Sometimes it seems like we're putting an occasional syllable too much into some of these parts, but I think overall it's delivered quite well. Ultimately, it's a track where you kind of get most of the gist of it around the halfway point, so I think they continue to maybe add more vocal takes as they go through, and maybe occasional instrumental bits of ear candy and stuff like that. But it's more about, I think, that they're wise to not go beyond that point. I just feel like they've gotten a lot of the real estate covered by the 2-minute 30 mark. And then as you kind of have those kind of keys or sort of synth patterns fade us out with the vocals and the humming as well there, you kind of feel like you've had the story told to you now. So I feel like just great use of real estate within the piece structurally, with a compelling performance overall from the various different instrumental layers and the vocals cooperating with those. And again, there's even little bits of adjustments of the perceived kind of frequencies of like some of the synths there. They open those filters up. It's just great, man. It's just nice that we're not taking for granted the listener's attention, even with existing elements. Even in a chorus section, there's a lot to appreciate. Thematically, I think it works within the minor key there, but it's so colorful that it doesn't try to be too quote unquote down the, you know, it's not too down the dumps. It's almost like it's bittersweet. We're kind of calling out for this person, but we're not trying to make the music or the tones or textures too heavy. Like there's no harsh elements within the piece. It's like we're just kind of sad that we were too careful with this person, too cautious. Our heart is calling out for this person. It's almost like the way we communicate vocally is meant to sort of incentivize them to give us a second chance. And I think that the softness of the track relative to this electronic sort of synth and bass and drum elements there is meant to sort of make it easier to listen to, so you can hear their message for the final time before you maybe reconsider. I like that. I think generally things are well connected there. That tone or chord progressions to choice, they make sense. And I just like how the frequency range is explored from the compositional perspective of all the different synth leads, bass elements, and vocal parts. From a studio production perspective, it's incredibly well handled there. I love the clarity of both the main and backing vocals there, the reverb tails, the way they're presented in different parts of the stereo field, the various synths synth pads, rises kind of like effects sounds, bass and all that kind of, that they explore the stereo filters, like automation of some of the synths going around from left to right there. It's so lush because of the effects change on certain elements there. The frequency spectrum is fully explored. There's no weird resonances in the frequency spectrum there. I like how well kind of behaved the drums are with the sidechain, the kind of clicks, snares, hi-hats and drums there with the variation of different quarters, eighths and sixteenths. In fact, I think there's even 16th patterns on the hi-hats that I didn't mention before. They're very subtle though, but the sub-layering and layering of main elements there from a loud perspective is also very good. So I think in general the mixing and leveling of elements is really cool. There is dynamic range from a composition or production perspective, which I appreciate, especially near the end in those parts with RLS drums. And it's nice and loud with pumping, bass compression, and limiting is handled. Again, the cadence of some of the lyrics and vocal lines is more of a personal subjective thing rather than a general criticism. I just think we may have been wanting to fit one too many syllables in occasionally, but it's okay. I'd have to go back through the track to find those specific parts. Overall, very, very good song. From a general listener's perspective, it's just a fantastic first impression to Niklas Adam's work, NKA's work. And Megan Simpson did a fantastic job on the vocals. It's just great to hear a collaboration work out, and I feel like there is going to be an audience for this, and I just feel super chill after listening through it, which is always a plus. So thank you for watching my review of this track. Title Doors Half Open. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via their various social medias and YouTube. This is also, I think, on Spotify as well. And stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next SP Reacts. Spiderhands out.